Sometimes getting stronger is a byproduct of training and not the goal of training. So let's have a little thought experiment here. Imagine we have a big group of athletes and we're going to want to train them to get more explosive, run faster, jump higher. Those are the main goals. Now, during that process, if we divide up all of our training, some of our time is spent doing heavy lifts and some of it's spent doing kind of medium weight lifts, move really fast, and maybe a lot of time is spent running, jumping, and sprinting. Now, what happens is we only really, we have more than that, but typically we have only a couple measurable variables. We have the sprints, the jumps, the runs, we have how much weight they've lifted, and then maybe or maybe not, you might have the ability to measure how fast the bar speeds are moving at those moderate weights. So we train and a couple weeks go by, maybe a month go by, and we go and reevaluate our training process. And we decide to test it. Did we jump higher and run faster? And athletes jumped higher and they ran faster. At the same time, athletes got stronger and they lifted more weight than before. So the natural conclusion I think a lot of people come to, and you see this in the research, by the way, and we'll get to that in a second, is that a stronger athlete is guaranteed to be a more explosive athlete and a more powerful athlete. However, the goal of the training itself was never initially to get maximally strong, and then a coinciding change in jump height occurs. It was just merely trying to jump higher and run faster, and getting stronger was a byproduct of training, not necessarily the goal of training. So, when we lift moderate and heavy weights, and we do that explosively and fast, it'd be really hard to say that's not going to help you get stronger. However, if you just simply try to get stronger, and your whole goal of training was to increase maybe a couple of lifts, like a barbell deadlift or a back squat, pick your lift. I don't care what it is. If your goal is strictly to get stronger, you might not do heavy, moderate plus or moderate weights moved explosively. For example, if your goal was just to become as maximally strong as possible in the squat, you might not do trap bar jumps or certain loaded jumps or high speed squats. It might not help you get stronger in the most optimal way. If your pure goal was to just get as maximally strong, like say a power lifter, well, you might not, do these medium weight lifts. However, when you do some medium weight lifts and you do them fast, they can make you stronger. So what we have here is called overlap. When we lift a medium weight fast and do it explosively, of course, some aspects of moving that weight fast and explosively will help us get stronger. Is it the most optimal way to get stronger? Well, no, probably not. That doesn't mean it can't help. It's just probably not the most optimal way. There is some overlap in the qualities that are being trained when we train with really heavy weights and maybe some of the medium weights. And so again, what happens is we see athletes get stronger. And you can see this time and time again in the research. People will say, hey, let's look at the research, Max. Of course, strength matters. And I totally agree. But how we get that strength matters and is rarely discussed. Because in both examples where I have someone doing this kind of variety of training, someone can get stronger, or someone doesn't do any variety of training. They're just pure power lifter, and they have a program designed to help them get stronger. They too will get stronger. But the way we got stronger in both situations is not the same. And it'd be really hard to imagine the general, or I shouldn't call it general, the specific adaptations to the body would not be the same neither. Yes, they both might involve getting stronger at a certain lift, but there's a variety of other adaptations that are occurring when we do this mixed methods approach than if we were to just get maximally strong. So when you look at the research, you see a large area of unexplained variance. So explained variance is basically if I were to plot the correlation between maximal strength and how high you can jump, for example. If we were to make a linear line, y equals mx plus b, so on our y-axis you might have the jump height, and the x you might have the weight lifted, and you see a good old-fashioned scatter plot, and then there's drawn a line of best fit. That's that y equals mx plus b. The r squared is the ability of that y equals mx plus b to predict. If I say, I squat this much, my x variable, how much y do I jump? So you should be able to predict how high you jump based on how much you squat. What happens is that predictor isn't always that great. It's like, say, 36%, 40%. It'll say, it'll get us 40% of the way there. So obviously being strong plays a role, but it's not the end all be all. And why is that the case? Well, because when people get strong and they try to get stronger, whether it's through their own training or someone else's programming, whatever, how they get strong matters. Because one person who get strong because they did a bunch of jumping, running, and sprinting might actually jump higher potentially than the person who just got strong through powerlifting, because there's other important variables that influence jump height. Again, that overlap situation. So I'm not against maximal strength training at all. I'm very much for it. What I am against is the oversimplification of methods for the sake of simplicity's sake, not for the sake of actually understanding it and boiling it down to principles that matter. If we just simply say getting maximally strong is really important, and look, the research supports it because of some correlation, which is inarguable. There is a correlation between maximal strength and jumping high and running fast. How strong that correlation can be heavily debated. But yes, there's a correlation. But then if we put all of our eggs in the basket of maximally strong, simply the ability to lift a heavy weight is the end all be all, well, first off, we ignore other training methods that could also improve strength, because maybe your program becomes centrally geared towards that strength. But on the same side of that, we also, like I said, become way too simplified and gloss over other important factors that are obviously contributing, because the explained variance itself isn't 100%. That predictor formula is not guaranteed to say if I get stronger, I get faster, and so on. Again, I'll wrap it up here. And the idea is simply that we need to consider how we get stronger, how we improve our strength. Training might get us stronger, but the actual process of training might not be geared towards getting us maximally strong. And that's a massive distinction a lot of strength coaches miss. And it's important to realize that there is overlap, and when we train certain methods, it's not like one method is specifically isolating only one specific factor. When we lift a medium weight really fast, it's not like that only gets us better at lifting medium weights really fast. There is a dispersion effect where it disperses into other variables. I should call it the overlap. It overlaps with other qualities, and it can make you stronger. But that's obviously not the same style of training than if we were to just try and get maximally strong, and the effects of that long term are very different. So just taking the end result and not understanding the how of which that end result was achieved could leave you maybe a little bit less informed than you could be. I don't want to call it misinformed, because that is still good information. It just might not be the complete story. So training involves lifting weights. Lifting weights gets us stronger, but at times getting stronger is simply an output or a symptom of training than the specific goal of training. So I appreciate you guys listening. As always, hope you enjoy. Feel free to subscribe, like, and share these videos. Thanks.